So closing arguments are set to begin today in the trial of Karmelo Anthony, the teen accused of fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a 2025 track meet in Texas. Prosecutors say that the attack was unjustified, while the Karmelo's attorney defense claimed he was acting in self-defense. The defense at one point even tried saying that the victim impaled himself. Karmelo could face life in prison if convicted. Crime and Justice host, criminal defense attorney Donna Rotunno joins us now. It's good to see you, my friend. Okay, I want to break this up into two parts. So this is going to be the closing arguments. It looks like the prosecution didn't get ahead of their skis. They stuck to a traditional murder case, didn't try to overcharge. What do they need to do today to seal the deal? And from the defense standpoint, a lot of the outside factors about race, as well as him being jumped, did not get introduced for the court. So what do they need to do, starting with the prosecution, Donna?
So you're right, Lawrence, and good morning. Thank you for having me. The prosecution did a really good job of laying out their case in a very streamlined way. They didn't get into things that didn't matter. They called witnesses who were there to say what happened, and they've done a very good job of laying out what it means to murder someone without justification. And they have laid out every single piece of testimony to show that the actions of Karmelo Anthony were not justified. Because remember, Karmelo Anthony is claiming that he had a right to defend himself. But given the facts, circumstances, and the way this played out, the prosecution has shown that they did not meet that burden merely by the facts and evidence that they have put in. There hasn't been a lot of hyperbole. There has just been statements made by witnesses who watched what happened there. Mr. Anthony was asked multiple times to leave that tent. It never escalated to the point of the need for a deadly force response, and that's what this is going to come down to. The defense is going to say that Austin Metcalf put his hands on Karmelo Anthony first, and that should be enough. But under the law, it isn't enough. That does not meet the standard of what it takes to defend yourself with deadly force. This escalated much too quickly. We know from all the witnesses that testified, even the defense witnesses, that Karmelo Anthony had his hand on that knife in his backpack. He was reaching into his backpack for something. He knew what he was going to do, and very quickly he pulled that out and he stabbed him. I'm very surprised that Karmelo Anthony did not testify, and I'm going to be curious to see how the defense deals with that in closing arguments. Of course, the defendant has a right to remain silent. He doesn't have to testify. But when you are claiming self-defense, that burden shifts to you. And with the witnesses they called, I don't think they were able to establish that Mr. Anthony actually had a reasonable belief that he was facing deadly force. And without his testimony and his feelings, I think they missed the mark. I think what they tried to do, Lawrence, is sort of mitigate this situation. I mean, he's facing 5 to 99 years. And I think what they're going to do if they lose this case, which I think they will, is they're going to mitigate to the judge facts that came out during the trial. Things like he didn't think he died. He was very upset afterwards. He said he put his hands on me first. You know, all these things that were in his mind that would maybe mitigate the actual deadly intent.
Yeah, Donna, there was a 2-hour break in the court yesterday, and they were debating if he was going to take the stand. But also later in that 2 hour, the judge calls a recess because there was some discussion of a possible agreement. But at that point, I guess they could not reach some sort of agreement on this. And now we'll see how these closing arguments go today. Donna, thanks so much for joining us today. Be sure to listen to new episodes of Donna's Crime and Justice podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, Donna.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.